This ought to be, man. It's been too long. Actually, it's been too long.
Yeah.
But
And
you
at the
know,
same time, it's been the perfect amount of time.
of course, yeah. But that's how it goes. I mean, everybody's like, assholes and elbows, just getting it done, and we hook up when we can hook up, right?
Yeah. And a man like yourself that has just so much coming in, I can't ask for too much of your time.
Man, I tell you what, it's picked up a lot. We announced at Soulogy Fest on Wednesday, and man, messages, me, just a lot of energy, and I think there's just a lot of energy coming at everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it.
Well,
Let's play
those that
the,
can
huh?
hold it and handle it, those that have done the work and has opened themselves up, like yourself, my man, there's a reason why a lot's coming through you.
Well, I guess the question is, how do we know if we're done enough work? You know what I mean? Here,
Enough?
let's play the replay real quick, and then we'll come right back. That way, we can allow people a little bit more time. We'll be right back. Got 33
Right.
people in the house. Be right back with Bryan Henry. Okay, we got my friend, my brother from another mother. Bryan Henry's in the house. TogetherWeAscend.com is Bryan's podcast. Awaken. So it's at TogetherWeAscend.com/awaken. Okay. And so I want to put that up. I'll put it again at the end of the show, but I want to just make sure we get the other one up, which is the Academy, TogetherWeAscend.com. So on all the platforms, there's the two places you can find them. Bryan and I have been connected for about 2 years.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed, he approached me one day and wanted to do a show on his podcast. And then he came on this show, and I think I went back on his show. And so, but it's been a while. We had a show with you and your beautiful beloved. And yeah, man, I don't get a chance to talk to a lot of people. I watch your, what do you call those things? Stories. I watch your stories. I watch your gal's stories. I actually watch them.
Do you?
And yeah, and I catch your podcasts every now and then. I don't get to listen to too much, but man, yeah, just big props on on all the work you're doing, the example that you and her are setting for for these relationships, going to work every day, staying positive, because both of you have positive vibes on your stories and your posts. So yeah, big thank you from the community.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for creating the space, for all that you're doing. Likewise to everything you just said. Big love for and big respect for everything you've been putting out, my man. I see you.
Right on, man. Yeah, we were just, and I know you're, so we'll just dive right into it. But I
That's how we
know
do it.
that, we were just talking about the amount of energy that's come, this month in March. I mean, it's just been, and if you think about it, it's been like this for the last 2, 3, 4 years, probably longer than that. I wasn't paying attention, but, there's like this huge, something starts in March. and then it just grows and grows, and it has some spikes like in May, and I think October usually has a spike, or September. Then you go through the holidays and the winter solstice, and New Year's comes, and we're pretty much flat on our back for a couple of months, and then March comes again. But it feels like a lot of energy is coming in, and I can sense it myself in my life, and then of course in just observing, doing the shows, and reading people's stuff in the community. How's it been for you?
Acceleration. I like you said, for the last few years, just a lot big changes really quickly. If you know where to look and how to feel into it. But I know that so many, including myself, are undergoing rapid growth. And it's on us to open up to that, right? Like I was just mentioning, it's big energies coming in because we're opening up to receive big energy. So I know it's an intention of mine to
Yeah,
be a as open of a conduit for that as possible, and um, just living by that intention has been the reason why so much has been coming through, and a lot of changes very quickly.
yeah, yeah. Intention, I think, is everything. Even if don't, we don't really know someone else's intention. I mean, I think we do, but I guess what I'm saying is from a judgment standpoint, because
Mhm.
what I keep experiencing are, you know, physical connections or convergences. And this has been a buildup, but they're getting louder. Like everybody's been talking about, there's more clarity on the shadow, more clarity on the reality. But that when people come together, it's not about the conversations, it's not about the stories. It's just the energetics of, the electromagnetics, if you will, of the people coming together, and
Mhm.
something's happening. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but to me, it's like an automatic pilot. It's bigger than
Automatic
us.
color.
It's
Yeah.
bigger than us. It's got a mind of its own. So the universe is going to put you where you need to be, regardless
Mhm.
of what your resistance is. It's going to put you with who, in whatever situations, uh, they're there to service.
Mm. I think we also have to acknowledge ourselves for the willingness to show up, and
Yeah.
know that that's part of the story as well. I I do believe we're guided, and we're going to end up where we're headed, but at the same time, man, it's on us to show up. And again, I just want to give you big respect for showing up, because that's something that we have. That's a choice that we have to make.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the automatic pilot. I think part of showing up, and we all showed up. And you're right. That's a big part of the story. We all exercised free will and came down here. And we say down, came here, created this, whatever you want to call it. But as everything is everything, showing up is part of as I understand it, my own journey. Everything I am, everything I've ever done as Todd or anything else is going to be known by everything and everyone, and that's showing up. That's like showing up even if you don't want to show up. So there's
Hmm.
something about like, I can just draw my own experience. I canceled shows yesterday. I think I've canceled 4 days since the first of the year, which isn't normal, really something I do often. um, and but a couple days ago, I did go ahead and come on. I canceled the first show, came on, and that was my feeling was, you feel like shit. The energies are blasting you. Your body feels depleted, but there's. I thought, you know what do I want to do? Do I want to go lay down, or do I want to show up? And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to show up and share, not the words, but just the energy of it, the intention, right?
And that was right for you at the time to still be in that, even though you were feeling blasted.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I see a lot of people doing it. Um,
Yeah.
you
It
know,
can go both ways, right? In some regards, in some circumstances, it might be time to take that step back and rest. And sometimes,
yeah.
even when you might be feeling tired, it might be an alignment to push on through.
Well, I crashed all day yesterday. and I crashed after those two shows. So I was out about a day and a half. But
I guess.
everybody does it different. I know people have been sleeping for the last week. A lot of people talking about quiet, silence, peace, being with themselves. I mean, there's a reason for that, um, because everything's getting louder.
Yeah, it's important to recognize when we need that, right? I think a lot of people, the the mental block keeps them from giving themselves that space to rest when needed. Again, it's just about tuning into what is most relevant and where our deepest wisdom guides us. And
Yeah,
nobody can tell you what that looks like in any moment. Is it time to do? Is it time to rest? A little quote that I like to come back to: life knows when to work and when to rest.
yeah. Somebody came on the other day and said, "Don't quit, rest." I thought that
Mm,
was a good one. I thought that was a
yeah.
good one.
And knowing that that rest will ultimately serve the work that you do, if again it's time for rest.
Yeah. Well, I know you're big on working out, and so you're very in touch. In a communion sense with your body, and so the body's going to let you know. In 2021, the body's going to let you know if you need to rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't have a
Yeah.
choice yesterday. I asked the same question. I thought I'm not getting out of here. My body's telling me I'm making the decision. You're just going to sleep all day, and that's what I did. More than all day. It was probably 14 hours off and on.
Oh, yeah. I found from personal experience, if you don't listen, your
Yeah,
body's gonna find a way to make you listen.
that's right. And that goes for every one of our bodies, our pain bodies, emotional body, mental body,
Mhm.
all the bodies. But you said something earlier too, I think that's important, in terms of, nobody can tell you, because we're all in the same situation. We all have an ego fading. We also have blind spots, unconditional or unconscious, programs still running. We all have clarity on certain things, and, that whole mix. And, it's like you said, everyone's got to make their own decisions. And I had a quick meeting with a friend last night that came into town, and she had come last year, and she was telling me that she had 2 or 3 events, and one of them was coming here last year. She had been guided, or felt, or whatever you want to call it, led to take some certain steps, and she felt like she didn't take them when she came to Arkansas last year, and that she missed something. And I said to her, "Well, why did you? What were you thinking?" She says, "Well, I was in Florida, and none of my friends were speaking this language. So, I found Soulogy. I wanted to come visit you in Morgan, and I thought I might move to Arkansas because I know a couple other people over there that are woke. And so here I am a year later, and I said, 'What are you going to do now?' She goes, 'Well, I guess I'm going to go back to Florida. I really don't know what I'm going to do,' which is what a lot of people were saying. And she said, 'But the interesting thing is, 4 of my friends back in Florida, now this lady's 76 years old, and her friends are in the same age group. She said,
Mhm.
4 of my friends back in Florida are all now speaking to me in this language.' So my
And
point is
yeah.
she didn't make a wrong decision. She she's in an environment now where she got what she was looking for, which is more soul family in the place she was in, rather than having to go look at it.
Mm-hmm. There's no right or wrong, man. We have
Uh,
different timelines available to us. I think one of the something that just doesn't serve us is pondering on how things could have gone if we had gone a different way. Not to say we don't learn from our experiences, but it's just that we made our choice and we move forward with that. What can we do with where we're at from this point on, rather than looking back and
that's
saying,
right.
you know what I mean? Is it what could have been if I had gone the other way? Let's open up, embrace what the moment brings us, and the more we practice looking upon this moment as being the perfect manifestation for us, the more we'll experience it as that.
Yeah,
And like you said, look, she's now experiencing what she ultimately wants, which
right.
I believe we always are, whether we're conscious
Mhm.
of it or not. That's something else to that's
Yeah.
something to talk about.
Yeah. Universe is going to put you where, you know what I mean? You may not be conscious of it. And then to honor the human part of
Mm,
us in our
mhm,
multidimensionality, the humans like an ox, like Atlas carrying the world on his back. I mean, it's done yeoman, work. I mean, just deep work, and it's not always been easy. But everything is reciprocated in the universal time, not in any time frame that we set up, right?
mhm. The human. I know that's one of your big messages.
Mm.
The power is in the human.
Yeah,
Gotta get grounded, right?
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because as time's gone on, that's exactly what's happening. And again, it feels like something bigger than all of us, which is you were going to own this human, be this human, claim it, you know, and embrace it fully as a prerequisite to get where you think you're going. You know what I mean?
Mhm. We
We
can't
think
get
it.
too lost in the
Mm,
up there, and
yeah,
we gotta bring it down. That's what we're here to do. We're here to take
yeah,
that insight, take that power that we are, and bring it into this existence.
yeah. True, true that. So do you get? You're always very upbeat, yeah, and even calm and
Am
cool.
I?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you ever get like knocked off your square? Do you ever get triggered?
you kill me, man. Well, thank you for seeing me in that light. Yeah, yeah, I get triggered. I'm not by any means Buddha. Um,
How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it?
how do I deal with
That's why
it?
I was asking.
Yeah, how do I deal with it? Breath, awareness, relaxation, coming back to the body. Um, the tools we use, it's both, man. It's our active intention of I get to choose. The powers in me to create the reality that I desire, and I get to choose how I want to feel. I can allow myself to feel how I want to feel.
Mm,
But other times it's just playing the observer, watching, accepting, and knowing that all is well. This too shall pass.
mm,
You have to recognize the rhythm that you're in, and I and I'm sure most of the beautiful souls that let's give them a shout out, by the way. I love that there's just so many people in this space. You can feel the big love that you've done an amazing job of again creating this space for. But then when everyone just jumps in here, I absolutely love it. Um, yeah, I'm sure the types of individuals that I sense are tuning into this recognize that, and the power is in us to choose what it is we are thinking, or what thoughts we give power to. And I think we've all seen in our experience that how we're thinking is going to play into how we're feeling.
yeah,
But at other times, again, it's about allowing yourself to feel in the way that you do. One thing that has been really relevant to me these past few months has been learning to love myself in all of my expressions. I've seen parts of myself that I didn't want to be, and I've judged as being less than or unwanted. There's this idea for a vision for myself that I want to express, and that's powerful too. Having a vision for self and for reality that you bring intention towards. But I've I've been really learning to love the aspects of myself that I once would have pushed away, and it's coming in that we all have multiple personality disorder,
mm,
and learning to acknowledge that and honor that we have all these different sides to ourselves, that for me has been so key with regards to, again, addressing these triggers, addressing this healing, because ultimately what I'm feeling into right now is that invokes these moments of feeling triggered is when some part of ourselves that we may have wanted to hide away or suppress um, comes up. It's asking to be seen. It's asking to be loved. It's asking to be embraced. Um, and I guess I should take a step back and say that if one is getting triggered by something of their reality, right? If something in their circumstances are triggering them, it's of my belief that ultimately what that's doing is pointing at it's supporting you in seeing something that's occurring within yourself.
Of
It's
course.
it's telling you something about yourself. So the question I'm always asking is like, why am I being triggered by this? And this is not even a mental process anymore. It's more of a in the experience of the emotion. I am bringing awareness and attention to what's happening on a energetic level.
Right.
Attention to the body, to that emotion, to that feeling, and it's a practice of being with it, accepting it, feeling it, allowing it to pass through. Um, and again, there's I guess you can kind of put a step by step to it where it's first seeing it, accepting it, and then when it unfolds and when it feels right, then it's okay. Let me consciously bring intention into what I choose instead.
Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said too about it's not even mental anymore because it's kind of like, you know, we've gotten past the part where we killed the messenger, or we're getting past it. You know, like don't kill the messenger, be it a person or an event or a memory or whatever. You know, it's there to do exactly what you said. Every single one of us has still got unconscious programming, and I love what you said too about loving yourself. I went through this about 2 days ago, uh, and I found a Rumi video, Rumi quote that went right with it. And I've talked about it a couple of times. I'm not going to read the thing, but and it was about what you said. It was about these parts of you that you don't like, that you judge as not being pure, not being whole, or not being good, or whatever it is, and actually accepting that part of you and loving it as much as any other part of you. And so I kind of went through that a couple of days ago, and on a few things, and it felt like death.
Mm.
Not death as in I could just feel it, not
Mm-hmm.
as in loss, but almost like the death of the illusion
Mm.
that I was any lesser because of what I thought. And I read this Rumi thing, and it was like talking about the grave, and basically saying, you know, and of course I'm looking at it metaphorically. Basically, when the grave comes and takes you, your soul is freed, right?
Mm. Die before
So,
he died.
yeah,
Yeah. And I guess I also want to just say that, like, loving these aspects of yourself doesn't mean, tricking yourself into believing that love and like are two different things. So if I see something play out in myself and I don't like it, when I say loving this aspect of myself, loving this expression of myself, it doesn't mean convince myself that this is who I want to be. It might just mean accepting that this is played out. There's these feelings have been felt, these thoughts have been had. And I think one of the things that you're kind of pointing to is just like how this process allows for you to almost transcend the identity. So I don't
yeah,
want to go too off in that direction as well, because it's still you, it's still self, it's still an expression of self. But we from my experience in this process of acceptance and awareness, you kind of rise above these pieces of identification, feeling identified to, feeling limited to being this expression of yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Last night I laid down and was in that same thought that same frequency or of thought. And I was like laying there, and I was like, I am not just this body. I'm not just Todd Medina. So I
Mm-hmm.
went into the ethers and connected where I wished to connect, and that's just pure love, right? I mean, that's just my heart's wide open. It's broken, or whatever you want to call it. And then I came back and I was like, okay, now how does Todd Medina feel? And I was like, Todd Medina feels the same way as a human aspect, standing alone. Was it to the degree of the non-physicality of where I was a few moments before? No, but it was the best the human had. That was
Mm.
interesting. It's interesting that you bring it up, and I remember it, but I don't know
So
if
is that
that's
how you approach your
hmm.
meditations? Is go in, open up?
Well, normally, I'm doing it with Morgan. We do it together when we lay down at night. When I go, I don't know. That's a good question. Yes, I would say yes. In my own way, that's that's how that's how I've always done it, in my own way. And then other times, I can walk out in the backyard and there's a forest, and I just start looking at it, and kind of happens in the same way,
Naturally.
but I'm not. The same thing
Yeah.
happens in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you find yourself being with that sort of intention practice often? Is that something you come back to? Or is it
Well,
just more
typically every night, which is kind
mm.
of an information gathering. There's a lot of that. Um,
So are you looking to open up to information, or what's the intention going into it?
I think being open to what presents itself from
Mm.
the intention of, as far as I'm concerned, living, which is to expand and grow. So yeah, I think there's a intention of um, what wishes to present itself to me now.
Yeah, you stay open.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
I feel
think
like
opens it. Don't you think? I mean, what do you think? I don't want to say. Don't you think? Oh, being open. I mean, that's a pretty, like everything. That's a pretty, big range of what to be open to. It's one thing to be open to the positive things, another thing to be open to the negative possibilities. You know what I mean?
yeah, open to the gifts. I
Yeah.
think that's a nice way of approaching it. I'm open to receiving, however you want to think of it. I'm open to receiving love. I'm open to receiving what source wishes to give me, in the trusting that it's going to be something that serves you, right? Trusting that what you're receiving does in fact serve you, will serve you, and then just again not having too much expectations around what it should look like, what it's supposed to look like. Practicing feeling that this is the perfect thing for me. I'm going to receive the perfect thing for me, um, regardless of what it might look like on the outside. And from my experience, the more we start with feeling that way, the more we experience it as that gift. A lot of people also say that will also allow in greater physical manifestations in. But at that point, it's not even about that. It's you are, again, making the feeling a fundamental thing.
Yeah.
And that for me is primary importance.
Well, that's been what we didn't do before awakening. We we based our attention on our mind. You know
Mm.
what I mean? That old meme of who you talking to. But yeah, feeling, and with that emotions, but feeling has been, being talked about more and more and more, and that tells me that people are feeling into it versus the mind directing it. I think we've come a long way.
Yeah, we're designed to feel, and the degree by which we allow ourselves to feel is directly proportional to the amount of joy and love we're gonna feel. It goes both ways, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can think of it however you want, but for me, it's a process, a journey, a moment of opening up to as much love and joy that can pour through me, into me, for me, as me, for both my experience of it and for what the collective gets to experience through me. We open up to that light, to that love, to that joy, and it's a practice of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. A lot going on with us, all
A
of
lot
us.
to be felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
What's been coming in for you? What's
Just like you,
this is a
man.
question that I've been loving to ask.
Hmm.
Um, what are the what are the lessons that have been at the forefront of your integration in your personal journey?
What are the lessons that have been important? So I just can speak in, this is ascension memory. So we may be going back 2, 3 months. I don't know. Maybe it'll come through. But one thing is, and I'm not just saying this, I don't know anything.
Mm,
That would be number one. Uh, I'm coming back to that point numerous times a day in a very good way
mhm,
because it's got something to do with non-judgment, um,
surrender.
bringing myself into a higher level of alignment where I'm not reacting, um, hearing myself better. And then I think the other thing would be in regard to human interactions or experiences with external elements, be they another person or whatever. And that is, you know, a magnification or a greater clarity of, it's not them, it's me. And I don't mean that to absolve anything or anyone. That's not my place. I mean that to say, what am I being shown? And one of the things that I have noticed, Bryan, this year, and I don't know how far back this goes, but I would say at least several weeks, is the sequential aspect of how the day unfolds. And it can be anything. It can be a chance meeting somebody. It can be me at the laundromat yesterday and I look up at the right time and there's a red tail hawk, you know, basically calling my name. It could be 11:11. It could be other synchronicities, but they just seem to be uh, more cohesive and the story's a little easier to follow. So
Mhm,
that's not really a lesson. That's just something that I've noticed in myself, and I've talked to a few people that have said they kind of feel the same way. Doesn't make it right or wrong. Just a just a retelling of my experience.
mm,
What about
mm,
you? What are your big lessons?
mm. Acceptance, acceptance, and bringing home all parts of oneself with embracing, with love, and um, that, and just being, just acting in line with one's deepest wisdom.
Hmm.
Being in this moment of what is, I know. So it's funny because I don't know anything, but at the same time, I am knowing. Um, I take my best guess. The only certainty is uncertainty, but what I know I can do is take my best guess at what I feel like is best for me and for all others in this moment. So the lesson has been, you know, what is in alignment with your highest knowing, your deepest wisdom, your highest call. It's both of those things. It's one's own deepest wisdom as well as the highest call of source. Whether you're listening to guidance from source or you're tuning into your own deepest wisdom, it's one of the same thing. Tune into that and act on it. Just act on it. Trust that if you continue to act on that deepest wisdom in and of this now, that will take you to some great places that will coincide your greatest feeling. Also, another one coming in, being in a mode of receiving, giving yourself that space to receive, to feel, to relax, to be at peace. Peace is our natural state. Don't disturb that.
Hmm.
Trust that that's your natural state. Allow yourself to be in that sense of peace right here, right now. And know that as you continue to act from that place of this is what it is in highest alignment with my knowing, with that call, with my wisdom, you will continue to reside in that sense of peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slow down,
Mm.
relax. Don't feel like anything's gotta happen. Don't keep pushing. Be comfortable in the silence. Allow yourself to be moved. There's a lightness that we can be, that we can feel. And if we shift into that, we can trust that our greatest experience will unfold from there.
Mm. Yeah. Some of these things that sounded cliche-ish, if that's a word, new age-ish. Uh, they're actually, and even in the sacred text, some of this stuff that you know, it's all taken on, like everything, a new meaning, a deeper meaning. You can see there's just, I don't know, we're being, say, like, um, propelled to the very basics, not just of our, what, soul is, but what is a human. What are we
Mm.
doing here? How do we treat each other? How do we serve, um, our brothers and sisters, the universe, whatever, in that frequency where we're equally serving our universal soul. Um, it's like, coming down to, on one hand, to me, like it's on automatic pilot and we're all going there. And then on two, we have the ability to create in the moment, aligning with that, understanding of that's what we truly are, and what we truly can do. I mean, I'm with you. If it's not relaxed, if it's not humorous, if it's not loving, we know what the virtues of peace are. And and if there's a static, or whatever you want to call it, it will be it you, me, or anybody else. It's within myself, because whatever it is in myself that's creating a static, convoluted thought that's being projected into the quantum field, it's having just as much as effect as it will on the field once I come into awareness and I align and align my thoughts. I mean, they're both going to do the same thing, and I guess the question is, um, how we want to see this world go is how we want to see our life go.
Mm. Yeah, well, the the outer reality is always going to reflect onto us what's happening within us. That's that's a message that I think is coming in strong. And again, it goes back to the practice of making, feeling, and allowing our own sense of peace, joy, self-love within ourselves to be the primary importance, because the change that we see happen, what we project into our realities, what we create, is always, always, always going to be happening in reflection to our state of being. So I guess what I want to say here is simplify things. And I
Yeah,
think that's why maybe a lot of that now I'm feeling called to share is going to and should sound cliche, because we make things more complicated than they need to
that's
be,
what I
really.
mean. That's what I mean. Less is more. Like, these basic tenets were laid out, and we added a bunch of stuff on it. So we're just ended up where we started, right?
Yeah, we're peeling away the layers, coming back to the basics.
Hmm. And then you can look at it, spirit scientifically, and we can all acknowledge that energy's expanded these last couple of years, especially, and our bodies are getting lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't about the physical body so much, but the energetic body. And if we've got any density there, be it in, suppressed traumas or whatever it is, that stuff's coming up hard and fast,
Mm-hmm. Coming up
faster and
to
faster.
be let go of. The moment we see it, we pay awareness to it. It's the moment where we can allow it to pass through.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that yesterday when I ran into that hawk. And, because the red-tailed hawks have been in my journey for 10 years since I woke
What
up.
does this red-tailed hawk mean for you?
Well, I've never looked it up.
For you.
Oh,
You don't need to.
for me, it's like now after 10 years, it's like looking at an external aspect of myself.
Mm,
So yeah, so
beautiful.
I ran into one at the laundromat yesterday, and then I just started, and I just heard, and I tried to type it as fast as I could. Like I got most of it, but part of what I got was what you said. Was told that awareness is becoming alignment, and I understood what it meant was that we've made enough progress that just becoming aware of something almost has a simultaneous, if not simultaneous, action reaction of alignment. Like there's no course to take, there's no speech to listen to or book to read. It just actually happens simultaneously. And I feel like I've experienced that not in some profound way, but through doing this show, how it's not the conversation, the words, the instruction, or the stories. It's actually um, people being exposed to something that maybe they haven't heard or whatever you want to call it, or makes them think or whatever. Realize something, get an epiphany, get a revelation, get a trigger, whatever the case is. But those words, um, whatever it was, what did I? Awareness is becoming alignment. One and the same thing. Yeah. Time
Mm-hmm.
is becoming timeless, perceived fact becoming fiction, and perceived fiction becoming fact.
Perceived fact is becoming fiction. Perceived
Yeah,
fiction is becoming fact.
yeah.
You're
Kind
gonna
of
have
like,
to
kind of
tell me
like
more about that.
the truth is stranger than fiction. So, in other words, we've been we've been
Mm,
led to believe, or we've believed that fairy tales aren't real, fantasies aren't real, teleportation, bilocation, telekinesis, eternal soul aren't real. And we've been told what's real is banks and education and money and go down the list. So to me, that's what those words meant when I heard them, was what was fake, what you thought was fake is real, and what you thought was real is fake.
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, we
and that's
have
more of
no
a
idea what we're opening up to.
huh?
I said we have no idea what we're opening up to. It's
Yeah, exactly.
imagination's going to blossom into more and more,
Yeah,
and I I think it goes back to being open without
yeah,
expectation of it.
yeah. It's like where you're at today, as is a universal gift. It's the culmination of your journey so far, and you know why fight what brought you here? you know, be
Hmm.
open. So I get what you're saying. Like, and the being open and opening up, which I think is going back to what you were saying earlier about receiving.
And why resist what you are receiving?
Hmm.
Because that just creates for
Hmm.
disharmony.
Yeah, stories, disharmony, pain, angst. And it's not that we're not having it. A lot of people have talked about, yeah, it's still there, but it comes and it goes a lot quicker.
Yeah, Yeah,
All right.
there's probably less frequent slips, less frequent falls, and they probably not as low. I mean, I shouldn't even say that. They're
I
just
know.
less
Yeah.
frequent, and they don't last as long.
Yeah. Yeah. They're actually more frequent. They come in bigger packages. Yet we can take them in and whatever we do, and then expand from it. That sounds a lot like a lot easier roller coaster, but it's still a roller coaster. It's
Yeah.
just a different. It's a different. It's to me. It's a different dimension. It's a different
Mhm.
dimension, but we still got 1 foot. The residual of the experience. So that's kind of running with us. It's fading. The ego's fading.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
chatter's fading. The lack of faith is fading. The lack, all that. It's happening. But yeah, I think it's a different dimension because it operates. I mean, time. Has
Yeah.
time changed for you in the last
Ooh,
couple
that's
years?
so tricky to talk about time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it has, but trying to put words to it. Um, I guess what I'll say is it's becoming less relevant.
Hmm.
Um, more and more, not to say that I don't play within the construct of time at all, but I think I'm finding more and more consideration of linear time is less relevant to me in the moment,
Yeah.
meaning what comes next, doing now for something that happens later. Um, that just hasn't been as relevant. Um, I'm finding that my I want to say my greatest feeling states, the best that I'm sure others can actually relate to this. The best that I feel is immersed in this moment, doing with this moment for this moment, and it's about enjoying this moment, not necessarily about doing a. I was gonna say doing a means to an end, right? Not approaching this moment as a means to an end, but having intention, and I'm going to bring um, intention, and I'm going to create in this moment for some intended outcome or intended vision. That has its place, but I guess, like I said, I'm finding that just more naturally, and it's been making more sense to me that you can simplify to enjoying this moment, approaching this moment in the way that feels in greatest alignment with your joy, your excitement, and your knowing. And if that means doing something that might entail a little bit of inertia around, you do that too, but you also know that it's still entirely about this moment.
Yeah. I like what you said about not approaching the moment as a ways to a means. I mean, a means to a way, or however that
Mhm.
goes.
Yeah,
However that
yeah.
goes.
Um,
Uh, yeah, because as time has gone on, especially with this warp speed thing that you're referring to, the frequencies, everything's amplified, and um, it's pressing on the human. It's pressing
mhm.
on the human, whether we form judgment, and we're all human. So it's like it becoming more aware. So there's all kinds of um, uh, you know I guess the term would be like, say, attachments from an experience that aren't as prolonged and they aren't as powerful as they used to be, but they're still there. We have to acknowledge that. And again, everything leads us right back to why am I being shown this? Why am I experiencing this? Why am I thinking this? You know, it's a lot of people talked about being alone for quite a while. And I think this is why that's happening because we are needing to be one on one with the universe and working our shift out.
There's definitely a time for that. There's
Yeah.
definitely time for you to just go in and be with oneself. Um, though I do also find that, getting lost in that can be too much off in one direction as well. I've definitely had
Absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
just getting
No,
lost inside almost. We're
I
also
agree.
here to be in the body, be in the experience. Another thing that's coming in for me is that I lose myself in. I'm gonna say it like this: I lose myself in the experience of the other,
Yeah.
and experiencing, witnessing, and being very immersed in the experience of these mirrors that you, seeing you, fully experiencing you with my awareness,
Mm.
has this way of liberating oneself from limiting thoughts around what oneself is. And for me, a greater love, a greater energy, a greater presence flows when I'm being hyperly attentive to the experience of the other.
Great soundbite. That's a great one. You need to cut that one out. Use it for a promotion on your podcast. Um, yeah, yeah. And again, I mean, to me, I'm not saying this is what that I'm right, but it feels like there's an automatic pilot here. And I guess I keep saying this because I am saying it to myself, not to convince myself, but to help myself understand that uh, we have the momentum. Todd has the momentum. I'm gonna handle this. You're gonna handle this. Everyone's gonna handle this. We are handling this, and
Hmm.
uh, and there's something bigger than all of us, which we all comprise. That's you know, in some weird cosmic way, it's in charge, but it's not. It's that paradox that continues to
Oh,
run
oh.
right side by side, just like you said with you can be alone too much, and you can be in the ethers, or you can be out in public too much, or whatever. Or you can be alone, or you can be, or you're human, or you can be in the ethers. I mean, it's all about integrating every single thing. The polarities aren't just these big, archetypical dualities, ends of the spectrum. It's also human to higher self, and masculine to feminine, and
Mm.
being in the cocoon and being the butterfly. It's everything. It's everything. But I do think,
Balance.
again, I keep saying this. I think we're doing a great job. I think we need to give
Oh, I
ourselves
love
some credit. Yeah.
that. Say it again. Let them hear it, brother. They need to
Well, I
know it.
just said I think we're I think we're doing a great job. I think we need to give ourselves some credit. I think we need to go easy on ourselves, go easy on each other, because everybody's going through the same thing. And yeah, just there's something about, like what you said, relaxing. Relax. That in itself, like when I asked you, what do you do when you get triggered? You made reference at the end to what tools we have, but your explanation was about breathing. It was about presence. It was about calming, and it had no instruction to the self. You know what I mean? Just I could just picture you sitting there breathing, and just no words needed, no instruction needed, no teacher needed. Just it's wordless.
Hmm. You can handle this. You had spoken those words, and I think those are also very important ones to reiterate. You can handle this,
Yeah,
and just affirming that, knowing that, puts you in a state in which you feel like you're handling it.
yeah. And what is handling it? We already did it. We showed up.
Mm,
So if that's what got us in the door, obviously there's some truth to the energetic movement of showing up, and showing up can happen in the human experience in a lot of different ways. But I
mm,
do agree with you as well. What you were saying at the top of the show is that at some point, you know, figuratively or literally, we're all going to be in the same space that we've already been in. But it's like you said, the acceptance and the allowance and the surrendering to that space where we're all one, and no, we're not going to die because a part of our identity dies, right?
And do you believe we're gonna hit a point where it's just switched on?
I do, but I'm an ultimate optimist. I know it's going to happen. When I answer that question, I'm referring to I think it'll happen well within my lifetime. I
Mm-hmm.
really feel like I really feel like that there is an advantage to us not really knowing how well we've done, because the universe isn't going to hold that against us, and that may be the power bigger than ourselves that's reciprocating equally as the universe does, regardless of what resistance we show in our human aspect. Because we got to remember, we have many multidimensional aspects, and as you know and I know, and people talk about on the show, we're busting ass in dream state. We're busy, so it's not just the
Yeah,
human. The human's the one, the hero. It's the hero for a lot of reasons.
human is the hero.
Hmm.
That just brings us into our power. Confidence, that's another one that I just want to throw out there. Confidence, feel confident in yourself.
Yeah, spiritual confidence.
I like that. Spiritual confidence. I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah, that's a that was one of the six things I was told when I woke up. Were six
In
energies
what
worked with me.
context?
Well, there were six energies that worked with me. You can call them ascended masters or biblical prophets or whatever. And they each came, and one of them was Samuel, and that's what he that's what he spent time with me on, or that aspect of me did, which was spiritual confidence, which not to be confused with cockiness and just being walking and breathing and talking in confidence that you are an eternal soul and
Mm,
all that comes with it.
yeah. It's it's just something we gotta remember, come back to, right? Come back to it in those
Yeah.
moments where it feels tough. Like I'm willing to bet that most, if not all of those that are tuned into this, they've connected to that knowing.
Hmm.
So in the midst of an experience where it feels otherwise, when it does not feel this way, you reaffirm, you come back to that thought. You just gently guide your thinking. That's the way that it's coming through. Gently guide your thinking. Not
Yeah.
a pushing yourself, putting pressure on yourself to feel a particular way, to be in a particular state, but just gently guiding your thinking. Reach for something that feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then we come back, then we remember.
That's the simplification you're talking about. If I don't feel, you know what I mean, the soul. And again, everything's a paradox, I know, but if you're not feeling that soul, which the attributes that go with it, that, yeah, no more damnation, condemnation, judgment, self deprecation. Uh, like you were saying earlier about just taking that part of you and saying, hey, man, you're part of me too.
I love you.
You know what I mean? I love you, and you're not going to have to. It's and that's one thing I wanted to ask you, because what your explanation was versus what we've been doing is yours is alchemization and the other one is separation,
Mm,
right? So if I'm separating from a part of me, then obviously I'm never going to be whole. So
mm-hmm.
bringing it in and owning it as part of me. Uh, my studio looks like a teenage boy's bedroom. You know, it's a mess.
Epic.
I'm not gonna damn myself. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm gonna say, you know what? This is me right now. I could change tomorrow. Doesn't have
Mm,
to change. There's, what's working for me. This is one frequency in my life, in a multiplicity that's becoming bigger and bigger every day. It's kind of like Martin Luther King said, you judge a person on the overall bend of their life. I would change it to this contemporary time. I'd change it to, you know, first of all, you don't judge, but look at it from the overall bend, the overall composition of all your frequencies. There's some frequencies that you're in the penthouse and I'm in the shit house,
Mm.
and there's some frequencies that are vice versa. And this is all about that showing up thing, because when we show up and we see each other, something's happening that's involving all our multidimensionality, that's helping us to, get on down the road.
Hmm. I think we can both love all that we are and still be in the intention of being our best.
Yeah.
Hold yourself to a high standard, but also know that being your best self entails forgiving yourself for all past decisions and accepting yourself fully. That's not to say drop the bar, tolerate a less than loving expression of yourself, but know that in this here and now, you can be your best, choose to be your best. And once again, that entails letting go of what you may have been in the past and approaching this moment with as great of energy and love that you can.
Yeah. And things are, like you said, that, it's getting easier. I mean, I went through a day and a half, 2 day energy blast. I think in the second morning, came down here. I canceled a show. I said I'd do two more. I projected a bit on Morgan, which I don't do much. And I know, and I did the two shows, and I got a crash. My body was crashing. I told you, and I went to that place, and I went, I did that, and I went through it record time, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I was back. I was like, it is what it is, and alchemize, alchemize
Alchemize.
the alchemize the experience. Don't separate myself from it. It's part of me. I love it, and what else can I do but love it? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what more can I do, right?
That's the only thing you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You don't even need to do that.
because you are that, right?
And make it
Yeah,
simple. Make it simple, folks.
yeah. There you go. When's your next podcast?
Um, we haven't been, although interestingly, I've been feeling inspired to start doing them live again. I haven't been doing it live, but I've been
No.
releasing one every week on Tuesdays. So yeah, this is actually after a few years of kind of being an on and off sort of deal. These
Mhm.
last 6 months, I would say it's been a consistent at
Yeah,
least one episode a week. We do things a little bit differently. I think you get so much content out. You get so many interviews, and you're ongoing. You're nonstop. Um, I think I take my time with it a little bit more and
yeah,
go at a slower frequency
yeah, yeah,
and try to put more into each episode as much as I can.
yeah. Yeah,
So
your
once a week,
productions are
I'm
very
putting it
nice.
out. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Yeah, your productions are done very well. Mine obviously are, and we're talking about all the way around. I mean, it is what it is, but no, yours are done very well. I played a couple of your inspirational videos on the Soulogy remix, which people like, and part of the reason is well, it's because of you, but the way you put your stuff together is very nice. I would highly recommend you guys to check out uh, Bryan's website. I put up the website, the podcast, and the other website link, and also I believe he's on YouTube under Bryan Henry, aren't you? Or is it under uh, what's it under?
It's if you search
YouTube.
Bryan Henry Ascend, you should get it.
Yeah, it's Ascend. What is the name of it on YouTube?
It's actually Bryan Henry on YouTube or
Oh,
Bryan
it
M.
is.
Henry Ascend.
Okay, Bryan Henry Ascend on YouTube. Let me write that
Yeah.
one in too. Hang on, Bryan Henry. God, Starting to feel that heaviness you get when
I could always send you the link if you want.
I got it. Here we go. It just hit me. It happens sometimes at the end of the shows. It's been a good connection though. It's been a good connection. If you start doing lives again, give me a call. I'll come
I
on.
am.
I
I
like
you know
doing
I've
lives.
been hearing the call to start back doing some live streams. So let's get it out there. We've already created it as a vibrational reality.
Yeah.
We're getting you back on my end, and
Okay.
we're gonna make some magic happen once again, my man. So it's a
Right on,
pleasure
brother.
with you,
Right
bro.
on. I love you, man. I love you. Give your beloved a third eye kiss from me. And you take care of yourself. And thank you for all you're doing. And I'll see you soon. Okay.
Of course, brother. Love you too. Love all of you. Thank you. Thank you
All right.
for everything that you're being taught.
Let me make sure I got your links up again. Yes. I see. Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right, brother. I'll see you later.
Take care,
Take care.
brother. Thanks
All right. Bye
again.
bye.